BlackWargreymon. There are going to be many variants of this deck. And for the first Meta Monday episode going into BT8, I go over not one, but two variants of the build. The first video will be a control variant, while the other goes for a more aggressive approach. And if you enjoy these types of videos, do consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the notification bell for future content. Moving forward, Bandai has already removed the mulligan from several future events. In addition, my deck profiles will not be covering side decks with the fact that Bandai has limited the card pool further to 5. Meaning with a minimal side deck, every player will have his or her own deck choices. And because my content is geared more towards online play, side decks are not available. Per the norm, I'll be covering the card by card, the strengths, the weaknesses, and the combos. For the first build, I'll cover over the control variant. This build will look more typical to the standard BT8 build, but with a few twists, which I'll explain. This deck runs 5 level 2s, 13 level 3s, 11 level 4s, 8 level 5s, 6 level 6s, 1 level 7, 7 Tamers, and 4 option cards. For level 2s, this deck is going to find your combo pieces as quickly as possible. Because of this, you want the draw power and use your searchers when you can to find everything you need to build the right board to counter your opponent. Because Koromon is not effective for some of the cards in the build, I prioritized Greymon instead, as long as your Digimon has 6000 DP or more. While you could run Demimeramon and Gigimon, I suggest these eggs for a more aggressive variant, which I will cover in the other video. For level 3s, this deck runs Agumons. Lots of different Agumons. This deck runs 5 Agumons that have a search capability. 3 black Agumons from BT8 for the fact that this deck has 18 total Greymon targets and 9 Dragonkin Digimon. Because the deck doesn't focus on Omnimon as a finisher, BT5 Agumon has been slotted at 2 instead for the Greymon search and the 1 of search for the Omnimon. But the main reason why I go the 3-2 ratio between the searchers is because you have limited options you can Digivolve from the black Agumon, being BlackGreymon and Cyclonemon. Your last 8 Agumon are all DP buffers, 4 of the second promo, and 4 of the starter deck 7. These DP buffs are important when it comes to playing against Imperial and Mastamon for the upcoming format. Remember, Imperial Dramon Dragon Mode and Fighter Mode are big boys, and the biggest boy of them all is Paladin Mode at a whopping 16,000 DP. Purple and Yellow Mastamon decks will also have a 12,000 DP threshold that will require some DP buffs to protect yourself when going into the security. Now, there are a few other control elements that you can incorporate into the deck. That is, the first promo Agumon that can delete Digimon of 3000 DP or less. Unpopular opinion, this Digimon really only hits a few Digimon in the Imperial matchup, i.e. Vmon. But you know what works better? We'll discuss it in the level 4s. Other Agumons that you could incorporate for this build are the generic plus 1000 DP Agumon from the first starter deck. But I favor the 2000 DP for the fact that you eventually want to swing into the security, and Chimeramon can easily grab back Agumons if needed. For level 4s, this deck runs 11 in the form of 1 BT8 Greymon, 2 BT5 Greymon, 4 starter deck Geo Greymon, and 4 Cyclonemon. You might be asking, why only 1 BT8 Greymon? Honestly, blockers are still not relevant in today's meta. A lot of decks still don't run blockers, but this is a card in consideration to be bumped up another copy. As for BT5 Greymon, it's another Digimon that can give you plus 2000 DP to your Digimon if it's a Digimon with Greymon in its name. With P009 Agumon, your BT1 Wargreymon is going to be minimum 15,000 DP. And if you can get up more with other shenanigans in the deck, you might be able to hit that 17,000 DP threshold. But the main tech choice I have from my deck that differentiates it from the others is Starter Deck Geo Greymon. Starter Deck Geo Greymon has an amazing security effect that, when attacked into, plays itself and pops a Digimon with 4000 DP or less. You can also hard play the boy from your hand and pop the 4000 DP body. In the purple-yellow matchup, if your opponent is ballsy enough to play that Starter Deck 10 Gatomon, it's going to get popped before they can Digivolve it for a cost of 1, and then hard play Magna Angemon for a DNA Digivolution. Security Digimon won't have any threats until the future sets with Pomumon, a Digimon that prevents players from playing Digimon by effects, i.e. security effect. And while this can be used to target Gatomons, you can bypass the jamming ability of Imperial Dramon players by nuking their XVmons and Vmons if they dare swing into the security for free chip damage. And lastly, Armor Rush. This Digimon can go toe-to-toe with most armored Digimon, except Flamedramon, Magnamon, and Rapidmon when they check in security. But against any other Digimon, the Digimon would get armor purged, then show up in time for BlackWargreymon to delete the rookie. Value, am I right? Because this build looks more for control, it does not run the starter deck 1 Greymon, which you'll find in the more aggro build. BlackWargreymon has the benefit of being a free body that can be used to DNA Digivolve into Chimeramon if needed. For level 5s, this deck is going to run 4 BT8 Metal Greymon, 2 EX1 Metal Greymon, and 2 Chimeramon. BT8 Metal Greymon gives you the most value for your Digimon, allowing you to attack your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. In addition, with its when Digivolving effect, you can de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon, then delete a Digimon with 3000 DP or less. Honestly, this de-Digivolve is the value I really wanted Black to have in the beginning of the game, which I am very happy of. As for EX1 Metal Greymon, this Digimon lets you obtain Inheritable Piercing. While you won't be able to get both EX1 Metal Greymon's Inheritable and BT8 Metal Greymon's Inheritable, it's nice to have the Piercing option and one attacking effect that lets you pop a Digimon with 4000 DP or less. Chimeramon is the last option for 2 reasons. While its Digivolution cost is 4 memory, the cost is 0 if you DNA Digivolve from any 2 level 4s. The level 4s can also be hard play that turn to Digivolve into for a rush level 5, but that's only if your opponent gave you enough memory. Do keep in mind though, if your opponent armor purged, you can safely swing with your level 4s into their level 3s, then DNA Digivolve into Chimeramon for a chip into security. Chimeramon is treated as all colors underneath it, which lets you go into any of your level 6s, and can ping up to 4 of your opponent's Digimon with minus 3000 DP. For substitutes, you could run Metal Greymon Alterous mode, but this level 5 conflicts with the Chimeramon aspect. While this Digimon can nuke 4000 DP bodies on the board when Digivolving from a Metal Greymon, I do think the Piercing option is better, and can be returned under Chimeramon when DNA Digivolved. But again, Alterous mode is better utilized in a pure aggro build. For the last Digimon of the deck, this deck runs 6 level 6s in the form of 3 BT8 Wargreymon, 2 BT1 Wargreymon, and 1 Juchaomon. That's how I pronounce it, coming from a Chinese background. The point being, I've also heard Zuchaomon as well. At least the commonality is the Chow part. BT8 BlackWargreymon is the primary in this build for the fact that you have a lot of utility with this monster. When Digivolving, if this Digimon has a red Digivolution source, choose any number of Digimon. If this Digimon has a black Digivolution source, choose any number of Tamers. Then you can delete cards with a play cost that add up to 6 or less. While the red aspect can be useful to delete some level 5s and lower, this Digimon is a threat against the hybrid format that dominated the untouchable resources of Tamers. Meaning with a simple Digivolve, you could hit up to 2 Tamers in their possession of play cost 3 or less. As for all turns, once per turn when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, unsuspend this Digimon. Because you can potentially swing into security with level 5s, they do statistically have a chance of surviving when playing against hybrids or armored Digimon. Then by Digivolving, you can unsuspend BlackWargreymon assuming you delete something for blocking or an additional swing. With more Tamer hate, this implies another potential meta shift that will bring back security option cards. Looking at yellow and purple, the starter deck brings a very powerful option card that can deal with any Digimon. Chaos Degradation lets your opponent place one of your Digimon face down at the top or bottom of the security stack. Protection from DP reduction effects? Gone. Protection from destruction? Nope. Protection from bounce? You wish. This is the one card that currently circumvents around any Digimon's protection effect. And because of this, I'm bringing in the best Wargreymon of them all, BT1 Wargreymon. This Digimon not only gets an extra security check on the turn that it's Digivolved into, but it has built-in option card negation as well. And lastly, Juchaomon for the fact that it has a disgusting effect that can potentially board wipe your opponent of a lot of their resources. With Mastamon and Imperial Dramon building wider boards, this can help even the odds and potentially cut their security down. Just be wary of those option cards, because this card has only 2 ways to be searched in the deck, and I chose only to run 1 copy of it. With Blitz Omnimon, this Digimon can be a very powerful finisher in the deck. Because BlackWargreymon is red and black, this gives you the option to go with BT5 Blitz Omnimon if you so choose, or even Omnimon's Word Defeat for the additional Tamer Destruction. Remember, you can cut whatever you want for the deck to build it to your style. While you could also go the X-Antibody route, I personally see limited control depending on your matchup. You can't be prepared for everything, but you can try. For the time being, I feel Blitz Omnimon is the best choice for now. For option cards, this deck simply runs 2 Dark Gaia Force and 2 Red Memory Boost. This destructive red and black option card does require you to have both the red and black component on the board. If Cyclonemon is in your raised area, you already meet both requirements. MetalGreymon and BlackWargreymon are other Digimon that can also meet the requirements as well. Chimeramon is hit or miss, and if you have only standalone red or black Digimon, you'll need the secondary color. With Dark Gaia Force, this is a souped up version of Gaia Force that can be wideboard removal when played, or single target when checked in the security. As a rare, this card will look nice. With Red Memory Boost, you have the capability to search for another red Digimon card and add it to your hand. In total, there are 18 cards that would not meet the red Digimon criteria. However, this also provides you extra memory for next turn if you want to swing with a Greymon Digimon, tap Marcus, gain a memory, pop the boost, and drop GeoGreymon for another body deletion before going into Chimeramon. But for other options, you could go with cheaper option cards like Atomic Blaster or even Crimson Blaze. Both are destructive option cards that will likely hit level 5 or lower Digimon, and have lower or reduced play costs. Finally, Tamers in the form of 3 Marcus Daemon and 4 Nokia Shiromine. Marcus is your primary memory fixer, and can be suspended for extra memory. Though since all of your Digimon are red, you could also easily use Taikamiya for the extra checks as an alternative. Nokia helps with the reduced evolution costs, but do keep in mind this effect can be negated with memory-reducing blockers like Gaussmon, Sayakomon, Cutemon, and the new addition, Psychmon for purple. But on play does help you generate extra bodies for an onboard presence, and the potential for Jagras Digivolution for your next turn. For strengths and weaknesses, let's start with weakness. This deck suffers from typical red decks' weaknesses of not having a lot of good memory-efficient cards. While Red Memory Boost does mitigate this, it also has the flaws of sending potential useful cards you need to the bottom. However, it does have the strengths of having access to BT8 which has built-in additional security checks and option card negation. Not to mention the BT8 Agumon gives a lot more searchability to the deck and increases your chance of adding cards needed to build your stacks. But for matchups in playtesting, Ophanimon Fall Down Mode and Security Recovery decks can be a challenge for the deck, considering your BT8 has to do the heavy lifting. But for your best matchups, this deck has a breeze in the Armor Rush matchup. Jamming VMons? GeoGreymon seriously does work. For combos, one of the best things about this deck is having the capability to do a wide variety of things. Opponent has a lot of Digimon on board? They might not have many very shortly. In the raise, you could start your turn with just easily raising an Agumon to a Greymon, or even better, Cyclonemon. If you happen to go second and your opponent starts doing some aggressive checking, they might think twice about it during the next game. Even hitting a well-timed GeoGreymon can spell disaster for their VMon, as even though they have jamming, the GeoGreymon is just going to wipe them out of existence. But even if your Greymon Digimon can match their Digimon and swing over it, you can follow it up with a Jagras Digivolution into Chimeramon and nab back any level 5 or lower Digimon into the sources. Need that MetalGreymon back for piercing or the MetalGreymon that lets you attack unsuspended Digimon? Easy. With the new DNA Digivolution rules, the new Digimon can attack immediately as well. Further digivolving it, you have the capability to give additional effects. And if you did safely check, you can always digivolve into BlackWargreymon for the Tamer or Digimon deletion before unsuspending and having a blocker on the field. But do be wary of purple option cards because they tend to hit unsuspended Digimon. What are your thoughts on BlackWargreymon Control in the coming set? And what do you want to see more of deck-wise? Before you comment, check out the second deck profile as well, featuring another tribal list but for a more aggressive build. This is Digi-Panda, logging out.